Good morning, everyone. Today we're checking out a brand new video from Popcross Studios with the 12th episode in Vigilants Season 1 and the Channeled Chalet. I'm not sure that's how you pronounce it. Conquering loneliness and winning at life. Let's go.
Even when you're surrounded by people, the world can feel like a very lonely place. This is because it's not the number of people around you that determines how connected you feel to others, but the quality of those relationships, as well as the quality of relationship you have with yourself.
That's
Chanel
true.
Fuego considered herself to be one of the luckiest people on the planet because she'd learned this lesson very early in life. Going into high school, she had been so desperate to fit in with others that once she found a group of friends she liked enough, she just started trying to act however she thought they wanted her to be, rarely saying how she truly felt and not even telling her friends about her abilities.
That's what she messed up.
And of course, she certainly never talked about what her mom did for a living, despite being completely enamored with her mother's profession. Chanel's mom, Mwanga Fuego, was a channeler. Some less in the know may refer to her as a psychic, but they're not quite the same. A channeler can allow other dimensional beings, angels, aliens, or sometimes even demons, to speak through them, though many people who hear this in common conversation are extremely skeptical. You'd think in a world where 22.2% of humans develop superpowers at some point in their life, that people would be more open to the possibilities of channeling. But because it wasn't something that could be scientifically measured and verified through conventional means, like most superpowers, often people dismissed it as just trickery and manipulation. Even though Chanel's mother had incredible references from all her clients, who she'd channeled advice and insights for to help significantly improve their lives, she'd still occasionally get criticism from people who claimed that she was just ripping money off old ladies and desperate people. Even still, Chanel had always been amazed by her mother's ability to ignore any hate and anger directed at her and just bless those flinging it with love. She never tried to force her spiritual views or her abilities on others, but would speak openly about them and use them to help those who sought it out. Chanel wasn't so quick to share her own gifts when she got them, though. She developed a very natural gift to channel herself, but taking it in a different direction than her mother, who just let beings speak through her. Chanel could channel superhuman abilities from beings in other dimensions, times, and planes of existence. Sometimes she could communicate with these beings, but often it felt...
Yeah, the reason why I just said oh crap is because the way he just described her power. Do you all remember what was said to have happened to the previous Reaper in the prologue? Okay. Their power just spontaneously disappeared for a few seconds, leaving them open for Tosser to get the kill. Yeah, we found the reason.
Felt as though she was using their abilities while they slept in their own realms and realities, which likely resulted in them having dreams about them being Chanel. One significant hindrance of this ability, though, was Chanel had almost no idea how to control what kind of abilities she channeled into her body. The first time she activated a channeling, she got super strength. Another time she got levitation, but often she got more odd combinations, like growing fish scale skin and the ability to phase through solid surfaces. Regardless, she had wanted to use these powers to fight in vigilance competitions. So, she went to get her powers tested so doctors could give her an official
fish scales. I believe that's the Abomination Girl, and the phasing through objects is the... I can't remember her name. Oh, unless they were both from her, but kind of difficult to tell.
Label for what her power actually was.
Look, y'all know I'm not good with names. I forget.
They ran tests on her and said they had no way of reporting what her powers were because any biological changes seemed to completely vanish from her system when she stopped activating them. As a child, unsuspecting of others' skepticism, she said that that was because she was channeling other beings from other dimensions temporarily. The doctor promptly rolled his eyes and told her, "Whoever put that idea in your head is a charlatan and a fool. There is a scientific explanation for your abilities, and we've simply yet to find it." He told her that she likely had a variation on the same abilities possessed by a professional Indian Vigilance League fighter named Bahuma Sahayak, who could use multiple abilities as well, but needed a specific trigger to activate them. Chanel became a big fan of Sahayak before his passing, but knew that her powers were not the same. The doctor had told her to return at a later date for more
Oh, that's Caldwell's grandfather, isn't it?
tests, but she
Yeah,
never went
grandfather,
back.
not father.
Chanel knew what she was doing. She could feel a part of the other person or being in her when she channeled them, but she had no idea how to prove it to anyone else. After that, she tried telling other people about her abilities a few times, and they'd usually either laugh at her or just look at her confused and weirded out. So, by the time she got to high school, she had decided to just keep quiet about her powers and her mom's profession and all the
Oh
spiritual views she
man,
had connected to that.
it
While
became
that did
ashamed.
help her make lots of friends by not saying anything controversial, all that really did was make her feel more and more alone. No matter how many people were around her, she always had a lingering sense of loneliness. It was
Well,
only after
yeah.
some introspection that she started realizing it was because anytime someone would mention their own mom or superpowers or any
Yeah, no, here's the reason why you felt so alone. You became ashamed of yourself and your mother. Well, and just decided to be what other people want you to be. Which is unfortunately a mental handicap a lot of people do without even realizing it. And those that do realize it almost have no way of actually stopping it until they realize you need to accept yourself first.
anything related to spirituality, she would tense up and get worried that she may have to lie or come up with a change of topic to keep people from learning her true thoughts and beliefs. And yet, simultaneously, part of her was desperate to talk about them openly with people. She even started realizing that she was spending tons of her time before bed making up elaborate scenarios in which she was forced to finally say what she thought and believed to others, just to find a way to at least pretend to express herself.
Ugh,
It eventually dawned on her that she had been building up
Chanel.
resentment towards herself over those first years of high school because she was concealing so much of herself from the dozens of friends she claimed to care about. Some people can go on doing this for years or even lifetimes without realizing what they're doing, but eventually, something in Chanel just broke wide open, and she decided, I can't keep doing this.
There
And
you
so, by
go.
the time she reached her last year of high school, she decided to join her high school vigilance team as a way to force herself to start talking openly about her abilities. That then made her start being more open about how she believed her powers were activated and what her mother did for a living, and all the stuff she'd kept bottled up for so long.
Okay, that's
Initially,
good.
it was a terrifying thing to do, and as she thought may happen, she did end up losing some of her friends. Some people did give her the response she'd feared, calling her crazy or calling her a liar, and yet hearing the real thing was far less bad than any versions of it she'd imagined in her head. And despite
Exactly.
having friendships fade over her being open and honest, her inner feelings of loneliness were quickly fading in spite of her shrinking social circle. Even if being honest wasn't making all other people like her more, it was making her like herself more. Like her mother, she never
Finally,
tried to
Chanel.
force her views onto anyone. In fact, her closest friendship to develop over that last year was with another member of the school vigilance team, Kaya Palaya, who had many different views and opinions than Chanel. But what was most important was they respected each other's differing views, while feeling safe to be honest about their own.
Now you got
Kaya
it.
became Chanel's only really close friend, though by speaking her mind openly and compassionately, she did end up finding plenty of other people, often even people she didn't expect, who were open and interested in learning about her mom's career and Chanel's abilities and spiritual views. Some of them even had views that were far beyond what Chanel believed, ones that even she was quite skeptical of. But, as she
Well,
wanted
crazy
from
like
others,
what?
she was open and kind to those she disagreed with. That last year of high school was her absolute best. She looked back to previous years and felt as though she had been living with a boulder sitting on her shoulders that she lugged around everywhere.
Living like
Now she
Atlas.
felt free, and any spurts of lonely feelings were fleeting. Though there was one realm where they did tend to pop up more often: dating. Using dating
Okay,
apps was
that makes
exhausting
sense.
to Chanel, but it was one of the main ways people her age got dates, so she intermittently tried using them through university. She found in early conversations she'd always try to drip feed out some of her views to get a sense if the person she was talking to was open to them and cool with them, but she found it to be a draining process all the same. The few times she did find
I can
people
see
who were
why.
open to the kind of stuff she wanted to talk about, it would all seem great at first. But over time, the guys would stop having any enthusiasm for the conversations, and she'd realize that they'd just been putting on an act to seem like a better match to her than they were. She understood that
They were
impulse
lying
to
as
fake
well.
part of who you are to make someone like you more, as she'd done it in high school for years. But because she'd moved out of that stage in her life and was being more honest, she wanted to find someone who was the same. So she spent most of her university and
Good
20s
luck.
not dating much, trusting that someday she would find the man she wanted to be with. She knew she didn't need a guy to live a happy life, but was also confident that he'd show up eventually.
Yeah.
For most of that time, though, she
Could be
focused
anyone
on
anywhere.
learning and work. Chanel's abilities, being so unpredictable, had made it hard for her to have a go at a profession in the Vigilance fighting leagues. She learned that certain hand symbols could trigger different categories of abilities to channel in, such
Ooh.
as strength or healing, but it
That's
would
useful.
still be quite random what she got within those categories. Luckily, she found she actually got more invested in tournament organization and marketing than in fighting. She and Kaya went to university
That could
to
be
learn
useful.
skills in that field, and eventually got work helping run events like the Unitalia Invitational Tournament. They did that for a few years, but found they didn't really like the organizers of that tournament. They seemed petty, often declining to invite fighters for trivial reasons, and
Like
bowing too
outfit,
far to please their corporate
fighting
sponsors.
style.
Even still, it was a good job to have for a few years to build up experience, and both Chanel and Kaya knew that this wasn't their long-term plan.
You could probably even
Seeing
make
all
your
the
own
things they
agency or
disliked
something, I
about
don't
how
know.
big tournaments were run, the girls had been making plans for years to create their own tournament, one that only took sponsors they considered to be truly ethical, and would show off a wide range of ages and skill levels all in one event.
Oh,
And of course would be
okay.
very open to unique and unusual abilities like Chanel's. She didn't intend to fight herself, but wanted to give people like her a place to show off what they could do, free of judgmental organizers.
You
By
know,
the time Chanel and Kaya turned 20,
Chanel, I may know your future, but I can give you a lot of respect for your walk so far in this life. Now what makes us hate you?
they decided they'd saved up enough money to leave their jobs and start full-time building what they called the Unitalia Vigilance Exhibition Tournament. They hoped to launch the first one a year later, before the annual Unitalia Invitational. Unfortunately, they underestimated how much work it was going to be to convince sponsors to back them up, and big-name Vigilance fighters to come and fight. Plus, they eventually saw that their plan to do the tournament before the Invitational was misguided. The Unitalia Invitational was one of the biggest tournaments on the planet, and drew tons of people to the country, thanks to many local Unitalia fighters having the unique feature of gaining their abilities for combat through bonds they made with
Bayou
Bayou
Knights.
Knights.
Yeah.
These were creatures only native to Unitalia that had special abilities and could merge bodies with their human ally to grant them those same abilities. Their plan had
That's
been
true.
to capitalize on all the people coming for the Invitational to get them to also come to their less expensive, smaller scale tournament with more variety. Unfortunately, they realized most people from out of country who came for the Invitational didn't arrive very early, so wouldn't be around for their event. That first year, they also
Damn.
hadn't added enough variety to entice people to come. And so, for the next year, they decided to try again to really push their marketing and set their tournament for a week after the Invitational,
Trying to
so
go
they could
big?
get people lingering after it had wrapped up. They also decided to add a doubles competition into their exhibition for more variety.
Okay.
Doubles were not very widely embraced in the bigger Vigilance scene due to past controversies and the rules, but those had since been corrected. Chanel and Kaya had heard before leaving their jobs that the Unitalia Invitational had been considering reincorporating doubles. So, if they got in first and added it to their tournament, it could be a big draw. On top of that,
It'd
Chanel and
definitely
Kaya
be.
felt like they found a gold mine in some up-and-coming local kids. After acquiring a decent-sized venue and a few sponsors, they had gone to promote the
Yes.
exhibition at some
Yes.
high school and middle school Vigilance League tournaments. There, they saw an incredible sight that neither of them had expected. There were 3 kids from Innertalia Middle School fighting with Bayou Knights, but without bond bands. These
Ooh, hey, it's
incredibly
all crew.
expensive bands rented out by the Averitt Corporation had been touted for decades as the only way to make a safe bond with Bayou Knights, and yet, here these kids were absolutely sweeping the competition without bond bands. Kaya and Chanel hadn't heard any news about these kids, but if they could get them on board for a set of fights in the exhibition, it could be another incredibly unique selling point, and show off a
could be
message
big.
that Chanel felt very inspired by. that
This could be
authentic
big.
bonds with Bayou Knights could be more effective than artificial ones. After introducing themselves to these kids and meeting their parents, Agama Knight, Akaru Inoue, and Junko Inoue all signed up to fight. So long as Chanel and
Perfect.
Kaya could get enough kids in relatively the same age range to compete as well. That they did do, even finding some more kids with natural bonds with Bayou
Oh, the
Knights,
high
as
schoolers.
Augie and his friends had clearly inspired a small revolution of people seeking natural bonds with the creatures. They of course did not neglect those who used bond bands though, and were accepting of fighters with them as well. Their tournament
Yeah.
was about inclusivity regardless of differing worldviews.
Skills,
Everything was coming
abilities, doesn't
together
matter.
far better than the previous year. But sales were not taking off. They had gotten some small sponsors, but their marketing budget was still limited. If they were going to get their tournament the publicity it deserved, they needed to get at least one big name in the global, or at least Unitalia Vigilant scene to come fight.
How big?
When Chanel and Kaya were having a conversation about that,
Freya
Chanel
Sparks big?
suggested that they just go as big as they possibly could. Why not try to get Freya Sparks? To that
Okay, y'all know I literally have not watched this series, so I literally was just making a guess. 'Cause I wasn't expecting him to actually go with Freya Sparks. We're saying literally a little too much though.
Kaya
Sorry.
replied, "No, sure, and while we're at it, why don't I call up the president of Unitalia and ask if she wants to come to my birthday party?" You know I love your optimism, Chanel, but be serious. The Global Vigilance Champion? We'd have to offer her more money than we have in our entire budget to get her to even look our way. Luckily, Chanel wasn't so
Could still
easily
make the offer.
dissuaded. Getting Sparks' contact information would be near impossible, but her agent, Chan Seki, was easy enough to find a phone number for. Chanel called her and made a pitch for their tournament, admitting it was small, but stating confidently that it would become a big deal over time, and Freya being the big name to help put it on
Potentially.
the map could be great for her legacy. Chanel would have been totally understanding if Chan had just laughed at her and hung up. This was a huge ask. Instead,
massive.
Chan said, "Look, kid, I like what you're doing here, but we're talking about Freya Sparks. She gets offers from every small tournament on the planet, and a lot of them are as ambitious as you are. If she came to me saying she
Fair
wanted
point.
in, then sure, I'd let her go. But I'm not going to call her up for something like this. I'm sorry. But I do have some other fighters I could send."
Oh?
Seki went on to
okay.
explain that she had two newer clients in the slowly growing American Doubles League named Fes Manara and Lance Ba. She said they had
Yes.
been making a splash in the doubles scene, and she was sure, like Chanel was of her tournament, that they'd be big someday. Chanel expressed gratitude and
could work.
eagerly agreed. She had heard of this doubles team while researching the league and was excited to have them come. But she still
can do
really
it.
wanted to get Sparks. Luckily, despite her previous skepticism, Kaya had done some digging herself into how they could get in touch with Freya Sparks. Kaya showed Chanel a picture of an attractive guy around their age who looked vaguely familiar. This guy has been traveling and training with Freya for months
Oh,
now.
Carl.
Chanel then quickly remembered seeing him in pictures
That's
and in
right.
the background of interviews with Sparks a few times lately. Kaya continued, "People thought he was her boyfriend or something, but I dug through a bunch of forums of people talking about him, and it turns out he's been acting as, like, her traveling life coach. You've noticed how much
I mean,
happier
yeah.
Sparks has seemed in interviews, right? Well, that's been happening since this guy started traveling with her.
It's
Turns
Carl,
out he
and
spent
it's
most of
36
his
cards.
career as the personal assistant to Eggard Swole." Chanel's eyes lit up when she heard that name. "He's one of my favorite authors of all time." Kaya chuckled and rolled
Yes,
her eyes.
we got it.
"Oh, really? I had no idea. You definitely don't quote him every fifth conversation. Anyway, since his contact info is pretty easy to find, and since he seems
Okay,
like
that's
he's
funny.
basically Sparks' best bud and emotional support, then if you can convince him that she should come to our tournament, then who knows? Maybe she actually would come." Chanel gave
This could
Kaya
be
a massive
big.
hug. "Yes, this is so going to work." Kaya replied, Okay, calm down, because I've got one more important bit of info. Sparks has
What's up?
also been training this guy to fight in Vigilance competitions using a family-inherited ability of his that you'd probably recognize.
Oh, there
His
it is.
name is Carter Sahayak. Wait, you mean like Bahuma Sahayak?
That's right.
Yup, another fun little coincidence. This guy is hot, works for your favorite writer, and is the nephew of one of your favorite Vigilance fighters. So after you convince him to
Oh, nephew. It was his uncle, not his grandfather. My mistake.
bring Sparks to our tournament, you two can start dating, and you can thank me at your wedding for telling you about him. This time,
Woohoo!
Chanel rolled her eyes. Alright, he doesn't even live in the same country as me, and as far as
Not
we know,
yet.
he and Sparks are also dating. But after that conversation,
Not
Chanel did a
sure.
bit more research, planned out a new version of her pitch, and called up Carter, keeping an open mind that, who knows, maybe she had just been guided to meet this guy for a reason. Hi, is this Carter Sahayak? A warm, cheerful voice replied. This is he, and who am I talking to? My name is Chanel Fuego, and, well, this isn't
Chanel
actually why I'm
Fuego.
calling, but I just
Interesting
wanted to
name.
ask, are you related to the late great Bahuma Sahayak? I am indeed. He was my uncle. It's nice to hear someone bring him up. He doesn't get talked about that much anymore.
Hey, it was a
Chanel
great
had known
fighter.
the answer, but still wanted to hear it from Carter. Plus, it felt like a good way to start building rapport. That is really cool. He was a big inspiration of mine growing up, and I'm sorry he's no longer with us physically. Carter's
A
voice
shame
became even more
indeed.
cheery. Wow, thank you. And I love the way you phrased that. I take it you're a fairly spiritually inclined person? Chanel practically became giddy from how happy he seemed to hear that. Yeah, you could say that. For the next hour, they spoke about channeling, their spiritual beliefs, life, and Chanel practically felt like she'd known Carter for her entire life. She'd never
I hear
spoken to someone
wedding
with so many
bells.
similar views and life philosophies. Eventually, Carter said, I am absolutely loving talking to you, Chanel, and don't want to derail us, but I feel I should ask, why is it that you called?
Yeah,
Chanel cracked up, realizing that she hadn't even gotten to talking
gotta
about
get
the
back to
Unitalia
business.
Vigilants exhibition yet. She finally started into that, explaining her intentions for the tournament and how it would represent her values while also, hopefully, becoming a huge hit that showed off a wide range of competitors and varying skill levels. Carter told her, I absolutely love the sound of that, and I can't make any promises, but I will tell Freya everything you've just said and see if she's interested. Freya has
Perfect.
been wanting to try
Okay.
some more new things in tournaments, so honestly, I think she may even be interested in competing in a doubles match if that would work for you, and if a fitting
Oh,
partner and competitors were to sign up too. Plus, I can promise that I'll definitely be coming. I'm
yes,
going with Freya
yes.
to the Unitalia Invitational, so I'll extend my stay a bit and come see what you've got. And, it would be really nice to meet you in person if you're not too busy. I'm
Yes,
sure you'll
yes,
have a lot of
yes.
organizing to do, but if you were free at all for a dinner or lunch, that
Literally just posting the damn JoJo meme of just constant yes.
would be really nice. In her head, Chanel immediately thought, oh my gosh, Kaya was right, we're totally going to get married. It was obviously a bit much, but little did she know Carter was an overly romantic goof as well, and was essentially feeling the same way.
This is
They agreed to meet
wonderful.
and get dinner when he was in town. When Chanel hung up, she wasn't sure if her giddiness was due to getting to know Carter, or about her optimism that Freya may actually come to their
Volcanoes
tournament.
Los Dos.
But either way, she was bouncing off walls with glee. The next day, while she and Kaya were working on some more logistics, they'd both get notifications on their phones that would practically make them faint from ecstatic shock. They noticed that both their phones started blowing up with followers and posts on their exhibition tournament social media pages.
Ooh,
They
I'm blowing
quickly
up.
found out
I'm
why.
blowing up big.
Freya Sparks had recently made a post about the tournament herself. In it, she tagged two other big-name fighters who were also clients of Chanseki and had lended a hand to Freya recently in getting invited to Unitalia's biggest tournament.
Chad and the
Who'd
Flam
rejected
guy.
her despite her being the global champion for petty reasons. The post read, Chadwick Geigar and Flamtatius Staphos. After the
Flamtatious.
Unitalia
Thank you.
Invitational, how about you two try teaming up against me in a doubles exhibition match at this new tournament? I'll go easy on you as a thank you for helping get me into the Invitational. The post then linked directly to Chanel and Kaya's tournament website.
Oh, this
That
is
alone had gotten their hearts
wonderful.
racing, but they scrolled through the comments and found that Chadwick Geigar had replied and tagged another big-name fighter.
Sounds good to us, Sparks, but only if your doubles mate is Wallop Beaton. His interview
Ooh.
on Vigil Banter after he lost to you and to me was good stuff. I'm almost gonna feel bad stomping him again, but I bet he'll help us put on a good show for folks.
A few
This is gonna be absolutely massive.
replies below that, Wallop had said, Me and Sparks together, and you think you stand a chance? Bold Geigar, but I'm in, mate, if Sparks will have me. Further down, Sparks replied, Works for me. After I beat you all at the Invitational, we go round 2 at the Unitalia Vigilance Exhibition Tournament. Kaya and Chanel's hearts were
Holy
both pounding
crap.
so hard that they thought they were going to have a heart attack. They bounced up and down and hugged and screamed, but then quickly jumped over to their sales numbers and saw that even though only 8% of tickets had been sold that morning, within half an hour of that public conversation happening, their tournament was sold out. They
Holy
hadn't
crap.
just gotten sparks, but 4 of the biggest names in the sport were coming to do all of their first ever doubles competition. That quickly became the biggest news of the month and possibly even the year. If they organized this well and the
definitely.
tournament went smoothly, then their little exhibition was almost guaranteed to rocket into fame and popularity for years to come. Chanel dialed up Carter,
Glorious.
excited to thank him and to talk to him again, with a strong sense that while she had lived a fairly happy life to that point, ever since she'd started being more open about her true self and her views, this was the beginning of an incredible new chapter.
Hell yes, probably the biggest chapter in all of the Vigilant world. Golden, I tell you.
I really hope this episode of Vigilance was both entertaining and inspiring
Oh,
and
it
gave
was.
you some useful insight into how to overcome loneliness. I know we kind of covered most of that in the first third of the story or so, because this episode was also kind of there to help us set up the season finale for the show, which is coming a few episodes from now. It's not coming right away,
Yeah,
but it will
it's
involve
soon.
the tournament that was talked about in this episode. But I really learned a while back that loneliness is not about how many friends you have, but the quality of the
true.
connections and the quality of relationship you have with yourself and how willing you are to be open about what you think and how you feel. So I
That
really
is
hope this was
true.
helpful and fun, and thank you to everyone who leaves really nice comments on the YouTube comment section of this video, and to everyone who's
Series,
left
not
reviews
just a
on
video.
Spotify and, subscribes on YouTube, follows on YouTube, likes, comments, all the different engagement
All the
things.
stuff.
But especially the comments are very encouraging to help me be excited to keep making this series. If you do enjoy this, you might also want to check out another original series I have going right now called Mytholethal.
Ah,
it's
that's
less
right.
self-help focused, but if you want a good fun action romp with some good comedy in it, I think it is a fun series. That's also up on Spotify and YouTube.
And as many of you probably already know, I did check that out when it was coming out. But at the same time, I really should have been checking out Vigilance. Alright everyone, that's going to be the end of today's video, and I hope you all enjoyed this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link to the original will be in the description below, and I'll see all of you next time when we flick back on. Till then, this is Fox, signing out. Peace.